CNN.
At New this hour, sources tell CNN that Trump administration officials have discussed inviting some pardoned January 6 convicts to the White House for a potential visit and meeting with the president. One of the officers attacked on January 6, Michael Fanone, joins us now. First, your reaction to these discussions happening in the White House, Michael, to invite some of the rioters to the White House.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me. Donald Trump has, ingratiated himself with these violent criminals ever since he announced his candidacy from Waco, Texas. That being said, it's obviously outrageous. It's an insult. But Donald Trump is an insurrectionist president, and so I think it's fitting, to be honest with you.
Tell us more about this phone call that police received. I'm assuming you received it from DOJ as well, that the January 6 rioters who were testified against will be released.
Interestingly enough, I didn't get those phone calls, but I know that the individuals that were charged with assaulting have been released. And let's talk about who these individuals are, because I want the American people to understand fully. I want every person that comes on CNN and defends these pardons to understand who these individuals were. They are Daniel Rodriguez, an individual who applied a taser device to my neck while I was being restrained multiple times. Daniel Rodriguez admitted his conduct, pled guilty, and was sentenced to 12.5 years in prison. He is now free. Kyle Young pled guilty, admitted that while I was being restrained, assaulted, and beaten, he attempted to remove my gun from its holster, all while individuals were telling him to kill me with my gun. Thomas Civic, who stripped me of my badge and radio, again, while I was being assaulted and restrained. And Albuquerque Cosper Head, who grabbed me around the neck, pulled me off a police line out into the crowd of these violent insurrectionists, allowing this assault to take place while he yelled out, "I've got one." These are violent criminals whose conduct on January 6th, many of whom pled guilty to and were sentenced to lengthy jail sentences. They are all now free. Make no mistake about it, I am less safe. My family is less safe because of what Donald Trump and the American people who supported him have done.
Everything you just mentioned, what has the impact been on you personally with your physical health and your mental health?
I'm still here. I'm not going to go away. I'm not going to be quiet. I'm going to push back against these outrageous actions by Donald Trump and his supporters.
You say that you feel less safe, that your family is less safe now that these rioters that you mentioned have been pardoned. How so? Tell us about that and how you feel less safe right now.
Listen, these are individuals who assaulted law enforcement officers at the behest of Donald Trump, the president. They are now free. Donald Trump has told the American people, if you commit crimes on my behalf, I've got your back. I will pardon you. I will absolve you of any accountability. What message do you think that sends to Donald Trump's supporters? People like the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, the Three Percenters, these violent anti-government groups who Donald Trump has brought into his inner circle. It says, go out there and assault my detractors. Go out there and silence those that would stand up against me, and I will make sure that you are never held to account. The rule of law in this country is dead. Criminal justice in this country is dead. And people like myself cannot turn to the institutions traditionally charged with protecting American citizens from violent attacks just like this. Because the Department of Justice is not the independent body that we have all come to know and respect. The Department of Justice is Donald Trump's Department of Justice. The FBI is Donald Trump's FBI. Local law enforcement is Donald Trump's local law enforcement. Make no mistake about it. These police departments, they will fall in line with Donald Trump and his orders. You will not see the mass resignations that so many people have speculated would occur when Donald Trump comes in, tears up the Constitution, and starts doing whatever the hell he wants to do.
I believe we have sound from the Oath Keepers leader, Stuart Rhodes, who spoke after he was released from prison. I want to listen to that and then get your reaction to that on the other side, Michael. So let's listen.
Any regrets?
No, I don't, because we did the right thing. We were there to protect Trump supporters from Antifa. We were there to protect and secure 2 permitted events on Capitol grounds where members of Congress were going to speak. The guys that went inside did not commit any crimes. In fact, they helped the police and helped the people out.
He says he has no regrets. What do you say, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, this is what I would say to Stuart Rhodes. Go fuck yourself.
Okay.
You're a liar.
We didn't obviously get to beep that word out, but obviously this is personal to you, Michael. This is very personal to you. Have you been getting any threats? You talked about safety. You worried for your safety and for your family. Have you been getting any direct threats?
I never stopped getting threats. I mean, my family, the threats have never stopped. I didn't even make it through my congressional testimony during the Select Committee hearing before I received my first threat.
And they just continue.
In recent months, and they continue. In recent months, my mother has had her home swatted. She's a 76-year-old woman who lives alone. She has had bricks thrown at her house in the middle of the night. And just a few months ago, she was out raking the leaves in her front yard when an individual pulled up in a truck and threw a bag of shit on her.
Wow.
All because her son had the courage to testify about his experiences on January 6th as a police officer in this country.
What do you say to what Trump claims is that, the election is a referendum on this, the country has moved on, they don't care, they elected me anyway? What do you say to that and to the Americans who just who don't care? Go ahead.
I absolutely agree with President Trump. I believe that the election was in part a referendum on January 6th, and that most Americans, they don't care. Because the characteristics that many of us have come to associate with ourselves as Americans, things like honor, courage, integrity, are all bullshit. They've been replaced by things like selfishness, self-centeredness, and cowardice. And that's how we came to have Donald Trump as our president.
All right, Michael Fanone, thank you so much for coming on to talk. And I'm so sorry that your mother has had to go through that. That there's no excuse for that. That is awful. And all that you have had to go through as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be right back.